And welcome everybody to another episode of the most important conversations. But we are now going to
We're going to name it.
name this particular version of the most important conversations a name that is analogous with the workshop that program that Jenna and I will be leading and inviting all of you to in September of 2025. So a few months away from whenever you're watching this. It's called The Jungle and the Gardener. The Jungle and the Gardener. So we're going to go by that name from now on. It's still part of the Most Important Conversations network and the things that we're building. But this is specifically focused, as you already know, on sex and relationships. And today, Jenna and I were just talking about a really interesting topic that I think we could actually spend some time on over a few different episodes, frankly, because it's so antithetical, Jenna, to the way that we've been brought up and conditioned and raised, right? So like in most of our lives and our life experience, there are these sort of paths, these trajectories, in career, it's go to school, graduate high school, go to university or college, get a job, get married, buy a house. So there's these trajectories. So in relationships, we have trajectories like that as well, where we have these sort of preconditioned, learned steps that we think are just how this goes. But imagine if you didn't have any of those conditions, which we'll get into in a second. How would you determine the relationship that you're in? Does it work for you or not work for you? How do you gauge it? How long do you stay in it? Do you stay in it at all? What's the nature of it? What's the quality of it? Is it something that you feel you have any control over and some creative power over? Or does it feel like your relationships kind of just happen to you? Like they just kind of pop up, emerge, and then you're into the conditioning and into the routine of, well, this is the next step. This is how we do this. So Jenna, you've been talking to a bunch of clients about this. And so we're talking in this episode about co-creating relationships, co-creative relationships. This is inside of a bigger conversation about being liberated in your life. And what have you found when you've been sort of bringing this up or having this dialogue with some of your clients and friends?
Yeah, well, Chad and I were just talking about this trajectory thing of like, so I was saying in my personal life to former clients, I'm doing these interviews with former clients and being like, how is your life since then? Everything like that. So then they were like, how are you? And I'm like, well, I'm dating this creative style where it isn't like finding the one. It's more co-creative. It's more abandoning those pre-prescribed dating trajectories. And they're like, what? And I'm like, pre-prescribed dating trajectories. Like, I'm looking for someone who's going to move in with me. I'm looking for someone who's going to be a good dad or mom. Like, even if your kids are grown up, even if like they're looking for qualities in dating, like people that don't question it, that have nothing to do with where they are right now. So that's been really fascinating and liberating for people to hear through my story about myself. The other people I help are post-divorce dating, like professionals, successful in every other area. But once they start dating, they're like, oh my God, why didn't he text me back? And what, there's just a lot of insecurities there. So the real purpose of our conversation is to bring light to choice within relationship and curiosity of what does authentic relationship, what does a good relationship look like to me right now, and kind of where I'm headed, and being honest about that with yourself and others. Not trying to date to be accepted, but to date to be intentionally rejected. Like you want to be rejected by the wrong people for you, So a lot of people are going to date and they kind of are just not wanting to be rejected. So all of that, like there's so many layers to it. But as I've been talking to people about it, like, how would you do this? How do you be during the date? Notice when you lose yourself. So to me, I look at dating as an opportunity to get more data about who you really are and where you're losing yourself, where, oh, I didn't even know I wanted that. It's a real opportunity in relationship because we can't just like sit and like, like do this masturbatory self assessment. Like we have to be in relationship to experience ourselves deeply. Like I don't know who I am a lot of the time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that is who I am. Or if someone sees me differently. So there's a lot of angles to this. Like, because as I've been dating, I see myself through someone else's filter, which allows me to see my aspect of myself I didn't see before, which is really fascinating. But all of this to say, if you don't know who you are, and if you don't know how to manage your mind, and if you don't know how to manage your feelings and sensitive feelings, it's going to be hard to do just as like the normal person with their conditioning and their skills and abilities. I can't expect someone to have that level of confidence and clarity and ability to let go and move on and be like, okay, that didn't work. Grieve it, sure, even if it was little. Don't question it. Just feel the feelings, move on. So there's a lot to be said about dating that can be empowering versus a slog versus this thing. Okay, I'm going to get the prize. It's like being actively alive during the dating process, not I get my goal. I find my book.
Yeah.
You know, so like letting the whole thing be alive. And then that will lead to when you are in relationship, which we'll do another show about, how to stay co-creative, stay authentic within a partnership. That's a totally different conversation, but they're connected for sure.
So much. I'm just making notes here.
Yeah. There's a lot to say.
There's so many different angles to this, you know. So first, let me tell a brief little story. Actually, it just happened over the last couple of days. So a friend of mine reaches out to me, and he's known this woman for, I think, 7 years, but just as friends.
Yeah.
And he's, so about a month ago, they reconnected, and it was this very hot and passionate kind of reconnection. And they didn't date before. So it was just friends.
Right.
And anyway, so he lets me know about a month ago, hey, this is someone who was not in any long-term relationship for quite a while, had been just doing the dating, thing. And calls me up and says, hey, I think I've got a girlfriend, right? So this was like official status. Okay.
Yeah.
So the status came out, and he's like, he's just over the moon. Right. And it's just all the feelings, this is great. And over the last 4 weeks, I'm hearing how, they're making big plans together. He's like, I think this is the one. She's going to travel with me next year. And all, they're organizing all the things. And he calls me over the weekend, and he's like, she left.
Oh, sorry, I'm not laughing at him. Okay.
Yeah. She left. She just got up and said she couldn't do this, and this wasn't what she wanted. And I found out, and then he says, I found out that she found another guy recently, and so she started hooking up with him on the side.
Oh, no.
And he was like, I was sure she was the one, right? So anyway, there's a lot in this story, why I'm telling it, because there's, first of all, the one concept.
I know, we need to do another show about the one. That's
right? We got to talk about the one
thing.
Second, this whole rapid, they'd known each other for 7 years, but rapidly jumping in, right? Making life plans in a month. We're talking 30 days.
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah.
But this is not uncommon, because we're, I've said this so many times, we are neurochemical addicts to the neurochemicals in our brain. And when all those pleasant payoff centers and reward centers are actively, turning on, our perception of what's going on is, this is it.
The mind
don't ever want this to end.
The mind, the personality is like, woo. And it doesn't want to see what it doesn't want to see, right? It's the I want to write a country song called So Nobody Steal This. You can't see red flags with rose-colored glasses. Because I think it's a good lyric.
You can see them. All
I
right.
won't
So
think it that way.
and then he says to me, the last part, cherry on top of the story, when he tells me that she left was, and she met all of like almost all the requirements on my list. So there was the list. So there's the one, there's the list. There's so much,
and people do these list things in a benevolent attempt, like say a relationship coach is going to be like, okay, write the qualities you want. But really the life will deliver you the qualities that you need. Like whether it's, oh shoot, I dated like con men energy for a while. And I was like, what's with this? But I would like catch it and be like, why? Because I was just willing to be duped into hearing what I wanted to hear. So I'm like, okay, I got to bring attention to that and transform that. Not everyone can do that, but you start to go, what is with this trend? Before you're together for like years and years and years, like skip those steps, reel it in, get the lesson, move on, get to something that can be deeply fulfilling, but not in that like oxytocin soaked, drunken state of love. And I just smile and nod during that phase with my friends. Like, that's great. That is great. I will like this person in 6 months if they're still around. Like, I will be with you on this excitement. But now I'm just going to let you do this.
Well, the thing about the list that strikes me is you can only want what you know.
Right. And what you think you want. Like I had a client who's like, oh, I want him to text me back right away. I'm like, do you? Like, do you want him to be the type of man that is just sitting around texting you back? Or like he's a high powered real estate guy, as is she.
Yeah.
And she goes, I didn't think about it that way. Like, if he gets back to you, if he's doing all the other things, let him do it his way and learn it, learn together. And she's like, oh yeah. Like she thinks she wants that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, or someone's the high powered performance lawyer. Well, welcome to not having a lot of like, you know what I mean? Depending on where they are in their career. Okay, well, if you want to hang out a lot, that like, so people are putting things and not really thinking it through. It's like trying to pick your career when you're 18.
I think even deeper than that, though, they're not feeling it. And this is the issue here, right?
Yeah.
So a sort of a metaphor for this, let's talk about foodies and non-foodies, right? Because to me, it's kind of the same thing in a way.
Yeah.
Right. So we have the smorgasbord, the buffet of dating that's possible to us. And yet we have this list of, I only eat meat and potatoes. And so it's got to fit meat and potatoes. The first, my kids, when they were growing up, they're still growing up. They're like late 18, 17. But when they were young, I was like, always, because I'm a big foodie. I mean, there is not a type of food on planet Earth that I cannot find some level of pure bliss and enjoyment with, especially if done well. Okay. Everything. There's nothing off the table. And so I think that goes, by the way, to what's that rating where I'm a shapeshifter?
The blueprint, erotic blueprint. Yeah.
I think that goes to my blueprint because food is erotic. Right? Really, it is.
Pleasure.
Any of these sorts of the sensory world is what I consider the erotic world. So anyway, so my kids, they, I was always forcing them to try different food.
Right.
It's like, but I don't want that food. Now they never had it. So they can't say that they don't want it because they'd never had it. Right. Yeah. And so like one of the best examples was sushi, and I didn't know that I wanted sushi until I tried sushi. Yeah. So if I had a list that was like, no sushi for me, and I never tried it. So you can only want what you know. Yeah. And then they had sushi and they love it. Now they want it because they know it.
Yes. And that's part of the process of living co-creatively is to try things on, but be the type of person that isn't going to get lost in it. So like you can try it and not like it and never order it again. Like you have the freedom within these choices to be like, oh yeah, I don't like it. Like, someone who's like, oh, I've never had coffee. And then at this point, like, they're like, well, what's the purpose of ever trying it? Or like, if I am going to do it, it's going to be like the best coffee, which is kind of cool. But like, giving yourself access to more life experiences, but not being like the other of like trying everything and just being sort of like not conscious and present while you're doing it is like
Sure.
not what we're saying is the point. Like it's not like, oh, just try everything to try everything because Chad and Jenna said try everything. Like, no, just be open to life as things are. What do you want to experience? What do you want to try? Because I had a client who chronically people pleaser, executive woman, like really smart. That's the type though. They're really smart, really capable, but in their personal life. So people pleaser, all those kind of things would normally do things for other people or to not feel rejected, right? She was on a vacation and her novel experience was in the saying no. Everyone's like, we're jumping off a cliff. And she's like, I don't want to jump off the cliff. But it was like a transformational moment for her to not just go with what everyone else is doing. And then she just lounged and blissed out and had the best time. And she's like, oh my God, that could also be the novel thing. I guess the point of that is to say that could be the new thing if you're always doing the other thing, trying things, doing things for other people, doing things because other people are like, you should try this.
Well, then, yeah. So in that case, you're not doing it because you want to. You're doing it because there's the validation.
But it's good to have that distinction because the thing is, everything you and I talk about, there's always like, oh, but don't do it if this happens. Like there's like 500 disclaimers underneath everything.
Well, partly because the challenge is that as a culture, we're so in our head.
Yeah.
And we're not in our bodies. And so if someone hears what we're saying on the sort of co-creative relationship, be liberated front, which I think is the ultimate path and the ultimate truth, my view of it anyway. But if you're approaching it from a heady place, then you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to crush this thing. Yeah, I'm going to crush this, do everything thing.
Yeah.
Now you're not in your body again.
No,
right?
Then you're not there to get to gain the experiences, whatever you need to experience in that moment. So we're saying in relationship, the point of today's show isn't just a bunch of information. It's to give you access to new options because I see people all the time post relationship, whether it's marriage or like a bad relationship. And they kind of don't know where to get started with the dating thing because they are still in this find the one, just start dating people. Like, and you can date 5 people at once, like just talk to other people. And, you can say no, you cannot want to talk to them on another phone call. Like you have these freedoms that you get to choose. If someone's upset with you, they're like, oh, I feel rejected. That's like how to date as an adult, really. Though, because most people are still teenage brain when it comes to dating.
Absolutely. And teenage emotions.
It's just stopped there. And so a lot of the work is growing yourself up in like a really sexy, fun way, not the like boring adult way, the yay way. But you get to grow yourself up. So you get to have this like power and autonomy, choice, and like the ability to not be roped into something or not be roped into someone's emotional craziness. Oh my God, we need to do another show on like the overuse of narcissism and gaslighting. Just also, I hear that all the time. I'm like, okay, that's not what that word means, but
we can talk about gaslighting. Well, on this topic today alone. So let me just read, and this is funny. Let me read my list, and then I'm going to end with something that'll kind of cap it off real nice.
Okay.
Now we're not going to get into all this today. What this is telling me, because the list that just showed up tells me that we at least have probably 2 or 3 shows to really deep dive into this. So here's the list. The game of dating. First of all, literally treating it and being able to approach it emotionally as a game, right? As something playful and fun.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes buy it in a bad way, but yes.
It's just experience. It's exploration. And that's like a treasure hunt. It can be playful. It can be fun, right? Feeling versus thinking what a good relationship is, right? Really kind of digging into that. We attract who we are. People are attracted to us and we notice it and we're attracted to them because there's something about who we are that's in them and vice versa. Yeah. I said this a few minutes ago, we only know ourselves. Well, we know ourselves through another, and you can only want what you know. These two things are related, right? You know yourself through another, and you can only want what you know. Therefore, that's why you want that person, even though, some people who are like, why do I keep being attracted to and going for the same type of person? Like you were just saying a few minutes ago, right?
And then we can look at the type as, well, who created that type?
Who said?
What version of you, because that you want to upgrade those systems. So the whole type thing, like then there's like, who is an ideal partner for you? And that's what I'm going to rope in the concept of spirit and soul. And that's where like life is these little breadcrumbs and Mario coins, I call them. So like someone might have Mario coins for me that I might learn in 5 years, but I've now learned in 2 dates. I've advanced the system. I'm hacking the soul evolution by just participating more without overthinking it all. Well, this doesn't make sense because he has 4 kids and he has this job. Like this doesn't make sense. I'm not going to go on a date. Oh, but really there is a pull to something on that date. So to be curious, but not lose yourself. To get those Mario coins or what did you call it? Like whatever, to like get parts of you in life.
Start to assemble the parts of you through the because we only know ourselves through another. And someone, just because you go on a date with someone and there's no alignment there, as you start to feel into what it feels like in your body, there was some value or some benefit that probably came of it if you're perceptive enough to find it and discover it. So it's never wasted. And so the last part of my list of things that we need to get into on this topic to really unpack it is throw away the lists. Lists kill aliveness. And another way of thinking about it that I think might be helpful for people is, the best vacation I ever went on was to Kauai, but it wasn't because it was to Kauai. I mean, I've been to Hawaii, dozens of times. It was the best vacation because I'd never been there before. And I didn't make a list of what I was going to do when I got there. In fact, I had nothing planned. Other than I knew I had a car that I had rented and I knew where I was sleeping that night. But nothing else planned. And so every day became this sort of openness, open discovery. And what I was experiencing was my own presence and aliveness, which I always tell to people when you go on a vacation somewhere. So the new vacation is my euphemism or my metaphor for the new date, the new person, right?
Right.
Every place you go to that's new, if you go open, you will experience your own presence and aliveness because all of the conditioning, all of the habits don't work when you approach something new from a place of openness because you're not prescriptive to, when I went to Kauai, I didn't know, I have to drive up here, turn right, and there'll be that tree that I like. Like I didn't know anything. So everything was just discovery. And if you can treat co-creative dating like like the playful game of discovery, self-discovery, I think that'll really open things up for people.
And also know that this isn't willy-nilly. There is a core within you that is your soul that does know that tree is there. That's not bound by time and space. So if we're so arrogant to be like, oh, that's not for me. Oh, blah, 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 all the critical thinking, right? Perfectionism, never doing anything because you need to be good at it first. Like dating is a great example of that. Like, oh, I don't know how to like start talking to people, be bad at it for a while. Who cares? Really going to think about that person in a year? No. Are they going to think about you? Probably not. But there is a driving force, your part of the ocean that is the wave that you are, that is being led and guided. So it isn't about, there's still something there that's authentic to you that is guiding you is the point. But we don't want the analytical mind to be the guide. We really want that, which is the feel, like which you can only, it's like being online. Like I can only get the text message when I'm online in that way. And that's how you get the messages in your body, in your life, paying attention. And that's what all of this resourcing, I call it. And, like all of the technology of being a human, really learning that, owning it, and embodying it so that you can use your resources for life instead of trying to get it right. That's where the trajectories come in. Oh, well, I was talking to somebody and their friends were like, oh, you haven't met his friends? Well, that's a red flag. That's bullshit. Like, you guys are doing your thing, like sometimes don't introduce sometimes don't tell anybody. Like, just sometimes other people well-intentioned advice is just noise. It's just their own limitations projected onto you.
Yeah, it's not even advice for you.
No,
it's actually they're sharing what they don't like.
What they would see as a red flag.
Yeah.
And so you really got to find your own way with it. And like, if you do decide, wow, yeah, I really want to meet his friends and that's authentic to you, then move forward that way. But it's not a pre-prescribed red flag that he's not really that into you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Control. Yeah. I mean, it's control. It's like, so they ever attain control.
Yeah. So, it's like these lists of these are all the criteria and the qualities I'm looking for in someone. If they don't meet it, then I'm not open to that. There's nothing creative about that. Our left brain is great at creating lists, right? The to-do list, the who I want to hang out with list. Our right brain is where, if you're talking about co-creative relationships, we're talking about the right brain, our emotional center, our creative center, activating that part of ourself that is open to possibility as opposed to closed to anything that's not on the list. Yeah.
And I think there's value to writing down your values and discovering and anchoring them in with the writing as a guide. I've done the list thing and I'm like, okay, what, oh yeah, when I did that one time, that felt really good. So I'd like more of that. And I think they're just holding it lightly, like, I really like that, really like getting clear about
like a preference. It's like a preference versus a black and white.
Same thing as food, like, oh, that's a little too spicy, or that's, which helps you magnetize the people like that, because you are getting clear about that for yourself, which is how relationships work. But what we're also talking about is the opportunity for life and our higher self, so to speak, to deliver an opportunity and experience that we wouldn't have had otherwise, that makes us more alive than who we were last week. And we really kind of want to be so present that we're, you and I will talk. We're like, when was last week? Like, life, people are like, oh my God, time's just going by. Time's just passing through. I'm like, because you're waiting to get to the weekend. You're waiting to get through this holiday.
You're like Loverboy, working for the weekend.
Yeah. People that live that way, they're not fully present. Time just slips by. But when you're really here and you're like up leveling and releasing and paying attention, a week can feel like a year.
Yeah. That's how it felt when we were kids, because we weren't in our left brain, in our projection of how this was supposed to go. And then because we were in the present moment, as soon as you say something's supposed to go this way, you're no longer in the present moment. You're in the future. Because it's supposed to go that way, right? Yeah. In the future. So, so even the thing you were just saying about friends saying, "Oh, that's a red flag." If this, that's a projection into the future. It's not present. What is this? It's like the first time my daughters had sushi. You could go on a date and it could be your first time having sushi, so, AKA this person, right? The first time you've been with a person like this, had a conversation like this or whatever. And even the values list you were just talking about. I mean, I only know what I value because I've had an experience of something that lets me know I value that. If your value list is kind of like a preference and it's not final and closed, you may go on a date with someone and be like, oh, I didn't even realize, but like, I really value this experience.
Yes. And that's that nice middle way of like, oh, I know who I am, but also I'm like the guy I'm dating now, there's a lot of things down on my list. And I was just like, wow. I feel like I would have not been like, yep, I'm going to choose these things because I had so many pre-prescribed ideas about these things. And now I'm just staying curious. So his role in my life is like, I don't know what I don't know. Like, absolutely. Because every time I'm like, I don't think I'm into it anymore, he'll text me something that's literally answering that question unprompted.
Hmm.
Well, frick. Okay. Because that's
you
where I
thought you thought you might have been at the end of the relationship.
Yep. And I'm like, I can't do this thing anymore. Like he wasn't planning and I want the man to lead. This is another dating trajectory thing, but it's quite the balance of like, I don't want to be the alpha leader. That's the jungle and the gardener concept, right? Like I don't want to be this role. So there wasn't enough planning happening for my preference. And then I was like, oh, I don't like who I am now with this dynamic. And that matters to me in my dating experiences. Like, do I like who I am after a certain amount of time? So I was like, I think I'm going to have to do something about this. And usually I'll talk to him. I don't just like, I'm out. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get this calendar and something about planning. And I'm like, okay. So then I just stay curious. And so my point is like the list thing and then what life wants to deliver to you is like, we've been playing that game for a while of like letting life deliver things to you that your analytical mind would say no to. So that you can experience that aliveness that maybe your analytical mind thinks is going to come from the one. Like once I get the one, we live in a transactional society. Once I get this, then. Yeah. But we're talking about like, okay, be in the moment. And then when you're dating, and I want to say this to anyone who's going through this right now, you can't get it wrong with the right person. So if you're trying to change who you are and not be rejected or, oh, was that too much? Oh my God, I texted too much. And oh, was that too spiritual? Am I too this? Am I too that? Like if it's an aligned person for you, they're aligned. So like all of your little constructions, shouldn't work. Essentially, you want that person to be able to see the messy you and the this you and the versions of you that you don't even like. Like that is the good stuff. So, but you can't get it wrong with the right person. And I love that. Like when I feel like I'm too much, I'm like, ugh. But you're not for the right people that are aligned to you.
Well, exactly. And and the more you allow yourself to just show up in your authentic, messy self.
Yeah.
And yes, you're going to have lots of dates that don't go anywhere because you showed up and that person's like, no, not for me. That's a good thing. I mean, think about the craziness that we put ourselves into when we bend and contort ourselves to be liked by this person because we're so afraid of the rejection and we need to be validated. Now you end up in this relationship with someone, could be for a week, it could be for a month, it could be, who knows? It depends on how long you're going to continue to bend and contort yourself to fit that person, which some people get married in situations like that. And they end up in lifelong relationships, bending and contorting themselves until the midlife crisis, which I'm sure you have a lot of people who are clients of yours.
That's where they find me. Yes, usually.
Right. It's like, I bent and contorted myself for this person for the last 15 years. And you're like, well, glad you're not. And let's not do that again.
Yeah. And they don't even know they did it. They just know they've lost themselves. So usually by that point, you've lost yourself so much. All you know is that you're lost. You don't even know that you really gave away parts of you. Like it's, there's a certain point where you've done it for so long anyway, just to give voice to that. But yes, the contorting for other people to gain acceptance is so old. Like don't try that one. I'm going to say no to that one. Just go like, you can say no to that one for sure.
Well, that's to me, that's the hell no, is whenever you have to change yourself.
Yeah.
And not be true to yourself. Now, the question is, do you know if you're being true to yourself? That's where it gets a little messy.
Yes. Yeah. Cause sometimes you can grow, like, as I said, if you got to have your foundation self so that you can grow without losing yourself. Cause that's a little bit of a tricky balance. But I do find journaling super helpful. I've been doing some AI, speaking out what's happening to get some feedback on it, and then it'll just say it back to me, and I'm like, okay, cool. So this kind of like, but you're not giving your power away to AI and be like, what's your advice? Like you're relating with yourself. You know, I talk a lot about self-relationships. So, if you're getting lost in the dating thing, come back to yourself. Okay, what's this about for me? I had a thing with him where like, I felt like because he wasn't planning, I wasn't important. And that was a wound that was 100% childhood. And so I like did my own work. I didn't need to. I have another friend's like, you should really tell him about all this stuff. I'm like, I figured it out and I got like maybe.
Yeah.
If I feel compelled to, I will. But as soon as I was like, ooh, this is from here, let me be with this. Let me bring attention to it. Let me feel these feelings that might be stuck in my system, blocking some things. Okay, cool. And now I'm like, oh, I don't. Now it's just stuff. The emotion trigger with the habit. Now maybe it's annoying, but it isn't like, ooh, I'm not important because this isn't happening. It's this is a preference now. So emotional wounds are an opportunity that will be poked by the person, but they're yours.
Yeah.
They're yours to bring wholeness to, which your body
it's not them. It's not their fault. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And now there's like, again, in that context of like, there's really sucky people. They could be really behaving badly, and that could bring up a lot. And then just don't talk to them anymore. Like, don't keep going.
Well, this is the mistake people make when they think or say, you made me feel blank. Right? No one makes you feel anything. They do what they do, and you feel what you feel. And your feelings are a consequence of your own life's experience.
Yeah.
They could be poking, like you said, the wound.
Yeah.
Right. And likely not doing it even intentionally.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There are manipulative people that will watch for what your wound is in order to control you because they're insecure and they don't want to lose you. That does exist. But for but then you should exit. Exit that situation. But like to get really the blame thing with relationships is so knee jerk for people. I'm just going to blame this on you. And there is a relationship. So like, okay, this is bringing up this feeling isn't congruent to this thing right now or this stage. And that's a teachable moment. So is the degree of this emotion, they didn't text me back. They didn't make a date with me on Friday when they normally make a date on me. Oh, so what does that mean? If that brings up a lot of emotion for you, for you to check out, right? And so that's the opportunity again of those Mario coins, like those points, those energy that you're going to get, insight that you're going to get because that person's being them.
Yeah.
You don't want to try to change them so you never have to feel bad.
Yeah.
You want to grow so you can be with all things.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So we're gonna
those were lots of little bits.
There's a little bits, and we're gonna go into this over the next couple of episodes a little bit deeper. I have a list. I want to get rid of my list. I don't like lists. So I want to make sure we talk about all this so that the list is gone. Right. Because lists kill aliveness. And so we want to kind of explore these different things that we talked about earlier. And so we'll deep dive into some of these, the game of dating, feeling versus thinking, we're attracting who we are. We only know ourselves through another. There's so many more on here I won't get into, but we'll get into this in the next episode. I do want to just pause before we break and invite everyone who's listening and watching to, because Jenna and I are doing the Jungle and the Gardener workshop in the fall, September of 2025. We'll announce the exact date. It'll be after Labor Day sometime. But what I wanted to invite everyone to is to go to thejungleandthegardener.com if any of this is resonating for you. And we have a form up there where you can reserve your spot. Now, we're only taking roughly 30 people in this first cohort. It's for people who are single and dating, or it's for couples who are trying to work on something. I was just thinking, Jenna, without realizing it, we could actually become a really powerful dating channel for people, because it's like, you know what? I want to date people who are doing this kind of deep work, who are like not, that could happen. It's kind of interesting, single people meeting each other online. And we hope that happens actually, because that's our really,
desire with community, right? Like finding like-minded people.
Exactly.
Maybe find the one.
Oh, we're going to talk about the one. Oh, Shania Twain. You're still the one. Yeah.
Well, that's a cute song. You're still the one I come to is actually cute. I
don't want to get into it because I have a lot to say about the one.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say
I want to save it.
I thought you were going to say I have a lot to say about Shania Twain. I'm like, What are you going to say?
I like her. She's got good songs. I like her songs.
Yeah. I watched her documentary and I'm like, wow.
She's interesting.
Everything. Love her. Anyway. So yeah, fun things to come. I am going to specifically do a show with you about dating plan, like how to do the apps, we'll do an actual show of that, or that'll be in the content. I'm not sure, but we'll definitely give some advice on using apps, communicating, like actual skills that are just easy to do that I've been telling my friends. And they're like, oh my God, once I did this, I now only get this kind of person.
Right.
So we'll give actual tools as well.
And I also should say, if you're wondering what the hell does the jungle and the gardener mean, why are you guys calling it that? Let me just give you a little bit of what this metaphor is, okay? The jungle represents the divine feminine, the feminine in its purest expression, okay? So the feminine energy, and that doesn't just mean women, it could be men too, but the feminine energy is this very creative, expressive, chaotic energy. Think of a jungle. It grows. It just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's expressing itself in so many different forms. And the gardener is the divine masculine energy, which is the gardener is the container. The gardener takes care of the jungle that he or she has transformed into a garden. It prunes it. It sculpts it. It nurtures it.
Serves it.
It's in the service of it. But it comes from a place of high intention because the gardener has to have a vision for what will this jungle that I transform into a garden by taking care of it look like? How do I make sure it thrives? How do I make sure it's fulfilled? How do I, all of these things. So jungle and gardener is feminine, masculine energies, and it's that dance between them. This is why we're using the metaphor that is the body of work that we really want to get into with the jungle and the gardeners, so that people have thriving, co-creative, self-expressed relationships that are not just surviving, but they're thriving, they're alive, they're creative, they're dynamic. Esther Pearl said it best, and I'm going to botch the exact quote, but she said something to the effect of, because she's been married for, I don't know, something like 30 or 40 years. And she says, I've been married to 12 different men over that time in the same person. Because they've changed so much, and we all change. And so since we all change, being able to be dynamic and be creative and be open is what's required for a healthy relationship if you are seeking a long-term one.
For sure. Yeah. And then a lot of that, both of those dynamics exist within yourself also. Yeah. But in a relationship, this heightened amplification of like all of those energies being in harmony is what's possible, right? So like even right now, I'm like, okay, I need to put my schedule in to get, but I'm a feminine energy person. Like I wish I could just be like, I'm a freaking jungle, but I gotta like, pay my mortgage and do all the masculine things. So we all have to do it ourselves. But I also want to talk about debunking like traditional roles versus the energetic. So it's like, oh, no, I don't need a man. I'm like, yeah, you do, or you want one, or like it's like, get over it. Like, let's go into the healthy version of this. Let's go into like optimization. But anyway, so we're gonna talk about all those kind of things. The metaphor I've always used that Spirit gave me when I didn't like schedules was, you can't have a river without a riverbank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, okay. The schedule is the riverbank. It's not the be all and end all.
Right.
There's flexibility to a riverbank.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to get into some more metaphors as we go along.
Lots of things. So many metaphors.
Yeah. But I just wanted to provide context so you guys aren't like, what the heck is this? But go to the Jungle and the Gardener. If this is of interest to you, we'll be providing more detailed information, but at least put yourself on the waiting list so that we know how many people are interested.
Also, so they'll know, because so many people will forget. They're like, oh my God, I want to do this thing. So like when you go on the list, you'll be reminded. I do that all the time. I want to do the songwriting course. Oh, great. I get the email. Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything to put your name on the list. So if this is of interest to you, go and secure your spot, and then we'll be in touch as we go along over the next several months. in terms of preparing you to make sure it's a good fit for you.
And we'll be doing specific Q&A calls soon where you'll submit questions and then we will speak to them.
Yeah. So that this podcast becomes truly a conversation, an invitation to a conversation. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It was wonderful. Jenna, great seeing you again. We'll continue with co-creative relationships on our next episode, at least for the next couple, probably. There's a lot to dig into here.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for your time. See you again soon.
That concludes this episode of The Most Important Conversations. This in-depth conversation could set you on the path to self-improvement, which is essential if you want to be an effective leader and take meaningful action in your life. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of these stimulating discussions, you can find them at tmicglobal.com. Remember, the world is at a crossroads right now. You can't afford to waste this opportunity to take charge of your life, build meaningful relationships with others, and co-create a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.